Welcome back to Dooley's Dog Pod. I'm Donna Trailer.
And I'm Noah Bice.
And this is the first episode of season 3. We didn't know if we were going to have a season 3, but we decided we have to give people what they want, the people being our parents, and therefore we are back. How you
Yeah,
been?
do we want to talk about that?
Talk about what?
That we just kind of like fell off the face of the earth last year.
Oh, well, yeah. Like, what have we always said?
Well, if we lose a game, we're going to quit.
Exactly.
And we lost to Alabama in the SEC championship, so we quit. But we're back.
We are apparently going, that applies to just the season. So, like, wherever we lose, we quit, and then we come back the next year.
That might have to change this year, too.
hope
We got a
to God
lot
not.
of away games.
We do.
And a lot of ranked matchups at
I
away
know.
games.
It's very scary. But for now, we are back. And as is obvious, depending on how you're watching or listening to this, we have a video format now. So that's great.
Yeah.
And as I'm saying that, I'm realizing we never made a YouTube channel. So I'll start doing that while we talk about some stuff, because where are we going to post the video if we don't have a YouTube channel?
Real. But don't reels, because we have an Instagram.
We do have an Instagram.
Go and check us out on Instagram. Maybe we'll post this year, since we do have kind of video to force us into that little bucket. And I'm locked in. I'm so locked in.
Yeah.
I don't know how I'm here. My schedule is absurd.
Yeah, this man got a lot going on, to say the least.
Your schedule's a little absurd and coming up.
This week, oh my gosh, was crazy.
Yeah. So, anyway, Donna's still here. Still at Georgia. That's good.
Yes,
I completely forgot that was a point of contention at the end of last season.
Yes.
That you may not be here.
Yeah, I was like, I don't know where I'm going to go. Literally the last 2 years. So the first year, obviously, it was like, I'm graduating college, I don't know what's going on. But then last year, I had a post-grad internship. So I was like, oh, I'm still here, but probably only for this year. Well, in February, it is now August, by the way. Our first game is 8 days away now. But in February, I started full-time with GBSM. And so now I'm here for the foreseeable future.
Yeah.
As is Noah.
So Donna got a job. Yeah. I got a year left. Maybe GBSM will hire me. That'd be cool. Now I work with the Pro Football Hall of Fame as a producer, remote, so that's cool. In saying all this, me and Donna and this podcast have no affiliation with either of those organizations, and they do not reflect the views of either of those organizations. So if CBS decides to do something this year that upsets me and I go on another 10-minute rant, that represents none of the companies that we work for or spend time at. Did I cover all my bases?
Anyway.
On getting myself out of trouble.
This is your verbal
warning.
Like, what is it called? Like, it's not NDA. It's not what I'm looking for.
Consent form.
Yeah,
like,
that.
Yeah.
It's like your liability form.
Yeah.
But it's a verbal contract.
Yeah, and we're a little all over the place, getting back into the flow of things, especially on the start of this. It's weird, because now we're looking at a camera instead of each other without like a mic right here. It feels weird that this is a podcast.
Definitely.
Not used to it.
But I think it could be fun. Right now we're losing like little baby road mics or whatever, so hopefully they're not moving around too much and picking up any extra noise. But that said, depending on how this goes, we'll potentially get like stick mics. For one thing, it'd be fun to have a stick mic while I'm talking, whatever, blah, blah. But that said, it might be better to have hands free.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I might get like a little arm around me, store it in your apartment. Just have like a bunch of my stuff.
Sure.
But yeah, so what we got coming up this week? Week 0. We're on the Friday before week 0.
Yes.
The only game I know about
No,
is
this is week 0. We're on the Friday before week 1.
Before the official games of week 0. We're in 0 week.
Yes.
So tomorrow, the only game I know about is Tech, Florida State. Mm-hmm. Are there other games?
I'm sure there are other games, but yes, that's the only one that I like pay attention to either.
I'll probably watch that one.
Okay, wait. Sign into YouTube on a computer, click your profile, and then go to settings. This is confusing.
And so, while Donna sets that up,
Cute.
Next week we have Georgia Clemson, which is a game that's happened before, first week for us. It's in Mercedes-Benz, so a little bit of a home game for Georgia, even though Clemson doesn't have to travel very far. Don't have all the stats this year on, I guess, new players on the team. We had some players sent off in the draft this year that I will deeply miss. Kamar Lassiter.
Being number one, yeah.
Dawg.
Yeah, loved him.
Yeah, that's it.
I mean, Brock Bowers.
No, we lost Brock Bowers. We lost Lad McConkey.
We have people all over the place.
Yeah, it was a few. There's others that I'm not mentioning because I can't think of their name off the top of my head. But it's kind of a big deal to lose guys like that. Tyke Smith, another one. There's another DB I'm missing. I can see his face in my head.
Javon Bullard.
Yeah, Javon Bullard. So it's going to be interesting. In terms of replacing those guys, I'm not too sure. I'm familiar with a lot of the DBs kind of filling in. It's a lot of DBs to lose in one draft. Not worried about Oscar Delp. Kid's a dog. Going back to that episode. Lad McConkey's a big loss.
Huge.
But that's not to say that the receivers we have now aren't high quality players. I don't think anybody we have is a low quality player.
Yeah, I feel like Dom Lovett's going to really show out this year. Mm-hmm. Obviously, Oscar is the new tight end TE1. So, I mean, like, I definitely think he's going to be fine as well. I'm excited for Branson Robinson to be back.
Yeah, because he missed all last season.
Yes.
And I was so high on him the season before.
And so I'm very excited because I'm like, you know, he theoretically should be close to 100%, if not completely, due to the like timeline of his injury last year. And so like, who knows? He might be our first option. And then obviously we got
also left out Mims. That's another good guy we lost.
Oh yeah. Also we got ETN coming in here, and
which that was so interesting in terms of transfers going from the like most traditional rivalry in sports to the other team from Florida to Georgia.
I don't know. I think it'd be more like a big deal if it was like Georgia to Alabama, because I hate to be that person, but like Georgia, Florida.
I know somebody who did that
in recent history. Don't we all? It's just not. You know what I mean?
Florida hasn't been good. Or to say that we have been better, because it was competitive when we were like a mid-tier team. Like when we were like excited to get top 10.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a little weird. It's just like, and when you think college sports, that game's on the same day, every year, same weekend, same place. There's no home or away. It's always in Florida. In that neutral site, and the entire university makes a pilgrimage down. So.
Well, it's just funny because it's like it literally is in Florida.
Yeah, but it's like
a Georgia game, just in a different location.
Yeah, and Florida is just so large anyway. It takes like 25 hours to get from the west to the east. North to the south.
Yeah.
That was my point. It's like a joke.
Oh. I was like, I'm not gonna.
Donnie's not laughing. That was really bad if Donnie doesn't laugh. And yeah, we just lost some guys. But yeah, excited to see him play. Is he the consensus one?
I don't think so.
Because I'm not sure we ever have a consensus one in that running back room.
No.
It's always so all over the place.
With Branson, him, like I'm like, it's just we have too many options there. Mr. Carson didn't leave, as we all know. So we obviously know our QB1 at least.
I feel like I saw that coming. I think he could have gone well, but it was just so much more to stay and then put yourself as a round one pick.
Yeah, no, I definitely don't think it would have been smart of him to go last.
He would have got drafted, but he would have made nowhere near as much money as he's going to make this year after.
Mr. Brock Purdy type situation, like Mr. Irrelevant last pick.
I don't know about that.
But yeah, now he's almost guaranteed to go first round, assuming that he has a decent season this year.
Yeah.
Because there's like out there across the board or whatever, he's pretty much seen as the best QB option because of his experience. And obviously where he is, because go Dogs always.
Coming into this year, I am excited to see him play. Like, I remember going into last year, seeing the G-Day game, and being like, ooh, I don't know if I'm comfortable with this guy playing quarterback.
I mean, I was never that nervous about him, but I'm definitely, like, in the same boat as far as, like, being excited to see him this year.
Yeah.
But I'm also kind of like, I don't know, like, part of me is actually a little bit nervous because I'm worried that he might come in overconfident. I don't actually think that'll happen because it's Carson. I mean, I feel like he's very much always been very humble, very level-headed. Like,
which is so surprising given, I don't know, if you just look at him and have no understanding of, like, the noise, I guess, of, like, him, like, just talking and seeing his personality on the team.
Yeah.
He looks like he would be, like, a very overly confident, like,
but
not humble quarterback.
Kirby talks all the time about how his level-headedness is, like, unmatched.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I definitely think that is obviously a strong suit in general, but it's definitely going to help going into this first season where he is the outright starting quarterback at Georgia with this history. Like, you know, he's got the experience and everything behind him now as well. So, I don't know. I'm excited. I'm just excited in general. I'm excited for this first game. I'm also low-key nervous about this first game.
Yeah, you were saying that, and I could feel.
Only because there's so many people that we have that are hurt.
Yeah, people don't realize that our
Exactly. So let me
not
just actually pull up my notes because, like,
excited.
the one little bit of notes that I have about this, I'm gonna list off everybody who I remember Kirby talking about in this past post-game presser or post-practice presser on Tuesday. So Smile Monday is injured. Can't remember what exactly it was with him.
His wasn't significant though.
Yeah, he's like working his way back, but he has definitely been hurt in the recent weeks. Like, fall camp has been brutal for them. Obviously, it's been scorching hot, but then on top of that, like, you know, ramping things back up this quickly and having all these practices in one day and whatnot, our guys are a bit banged up. And so that's why I'm like, that's the main reason I'm nervous about Clemson, is not just the fact that our guys are kind of banged up, but more so the fact that, like, I don't want us to be overconfident in general.
I don't know if we're ever overconfident.
But, like, I kind of feel like we've had situations, especially in this last year. The first half of the season last year, it was like we played so many games where it took us so long to get going. You know what I mean?
I only cried for a little bit at South Carolina.
Exactly. And so I'm like, I don't want to start the season off like that, where we go in thinking, okay, we got it healthy like we did last year. And then this year we're going in, if we go in thinking we got it and we're not healthy, it's like, oh my gosh, like, we mess around with the first game against Clemson.
Yeah.
Let's just, I'm not going to speak it into existence. Like, I'm not going to finish the sentence, but it's just like, that is a terrifying thought.
Here's where I'm comfortable. As many people as we did lose, we still have a very talented and sound O-line.
Real quick, let me finish the injury list. Smile Munden, Warren Brinson, Roderick Robinson, Branson Robinson. All of them are hurt right now.
Yeah, it's a little worrisome in the beginning of the year. I feel like week 4 or 5 we start to see something like this, and it's normal. They just have nagging injuries, but it's like,
and
take a week
this
off.
was like last year where we took a minute before we got to, like, some really, like, highly anticipated games.
Yeah.
Then I feel like it would be less concerning. But I'm like, I definitely just feel like Clemson is one of those teams that you could underestimate easily, and then they come in and punch them out. So that's all I have to say with us being not quite 100%. I mean, like, not that we ever are. It's football. Like, you're always.
Yeah, but week 1 is rough to go into that.
So, sorry, go ahead.
No, what I was going to say, we're very sound on our O-line, which is nice considering we lost Mims. Dylan Fairchild, he's still here. Tate Ratledge stayed, which I'm not sure I was totally confident if he was going to hang around or not after last year. I thought he was a player who could have been drafted, maybe like not like super highly, but definitely could have found a place on a team. And then Truss still with us.
I don't know how that man's still playing college football.
Xavier Truss, I know.
That said, real quick, going back to Tate, I think that, like, Tate's biggest competition would have been Amarius.
Yeah.
And so, like, I feel like they didn't want to compete with one another.
Yeah.
Obviously, I don't know anything about the inside scoop of all of that, but just, like, in my head it makes sense because they're literally, like, we're best friends or whatever, so it makes sense for, like, Tate to be like, you know what, I'm good, have your moment, I'm going to go next year.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
And then defensively, really strong in the trenches. That, I don't know, maybe I've said this before, my biggest football philosophy as a football fan and sports person in general is you win games in the trenches. Like, if you have a good O-line, you can have, like, a mid quarterback and receiver core and do way better if you had an elite receiver core and elite quarterback, but a awful O-line. Like, I think those guys being talented, D linemen being talented, like, can totally change a game. And speaking on defensively, Jordan Hall also injured.
Yeah.
Like, injured.
Yeah.
But we still have Warren Brinson, and we still have Stack, which
Warren
is nice.
is hurt too, though.
He is hurt.
Yeah.
But we still have Stack. Mike Hill's still around. A kid that we were talking
hurt.
about. Yeah. A kid that we were talking about when he was recruited like 2 seasons ago, which is so crazy to me to go like look back and be like, oh, there's this kid, Michael Williams, like he might be good. He's one of our better recruits. And like now he's kind of like a pretty big face in our marketing.
Yeah, no. As far as the face of the defense goes, like I'm like, Malachi Starks, I feel like is the obvious option.
Yeah.
Because he's been doing what he's been doing for as long as he has. Next on the list, I would say is probably Chaz Chambliss.
Yeah.
Only because, again, he's also been just there working in the background as much as he has. Up and coming face of the defense, CJ Allen.
That was the next player on my list. So CJ Allen, if you've never listened to our podcast before, hometown hero for us. I grew up with his brothers. Donnie's mom was his teacher. She's kind of like, I feel like, an Athens aunt almost to CJ in some capacity.
Absolutely not.
No, literally that boy comes into the room on media day the other day, so nervous, and then sees you, immediately smiles, and you could see he relaxes.
He was like,
it's a face that he is very comfortable to be around.
it was funny. I was like, was hoping that I wasn't going to make him nervous when I was in there. I almost sent a message ahead of time being like, yo, I want to be in this room, so don't freak out when you walk in there. Because I don't know. I feel like I would have been more nervous if I walk in and see somebody that I actually really know than if I just walk in and it's a bunch of random people and it's like, I'm going to say stuff. I'm obviously not going to say anything stupid in the first place because I'm representing the University of Georgia football team. But like seeing somebody I know, I'd be like, oh God. But he literally told me, he was like, no, walked in, saw you. I was like, oh, okay, I'm good.
Yeah.
I got this. So I'm glad that happened or whatever, but literally just from his press conference alone, like not that I ever had any doubt, but it's just like so obvious that he is a natural leader. Kirby talks all the time about him being a natural leader. Every time someone asks a question about him, they talk about like how well he's adjusted, especially in this, obviously having just been his first year. And so that alone, like as much playing time that he got as a freshman, him, getting awards. Literally, it felt like every week once he started playing of like, freshman of the week, freshman of the week, whatever,
awesome.
blah, blah. Like, how can he not start to become kind of a face of the offense, especially because he is like a personable guy. So I'm excited about that. But I definitely think Malachi, I'm like, this is your time to shine, kid. Like, he is like, I'm like, you have
I don't know, he's been shining
competition,
for
but you know what I mean?
long.
But like soaking it up as far as like really being like, I'm the face type situation. But
Let's see what he does.
I'm excited for just everything. I'm excited to see how we line up in general. Like, I wish that we'd had a little bit more time to prepare, just so y'all are aware. Like he mentioned, like both of us have really hectic schedules. This week for me has been absurd. We will hopefully try to get into a rhythm of doing better about.
I think once we get in a rhythm of new season of work, new season of podcast, new season of school, we'll kind of figure things out.
New season of school.
Yeah. Well, that's my thing is like my schedule hasn't really set in yet. Like it's still like, oh, syllabus day, we get out earlier. Oh,
Yeah.
This work schedule's changing because we're still onboarding new interns, or work schedule, work is changing because we're trying to figure out remote work. And it's just like nothing has like set in to where I can be like, okay, at this time I'm doing this, at this time I'm doing this. So as we get comfortable and get in the flow, it'll be a little more back to, according to ESPN, this person ran for 45 yards.
I'm crying. Oh my God. Anyways, that said, as he was saying that, I started looking up like, it's funny, y'all can see us on our computers now. So, but anywho, I looked up.
Now we're not just pulling this off our
we don't
dome.
start going off the dome.
Yeah.
But
we have notes.
I looked up like someone else's like an article kind of previewing this game.
Stealing.
It's not stealing. It's called using my resources. Okay, thank you very much. Anywho, I haven't obviously had the chance to read any of it yet, but just from kind of the first line alone, I'm kind of thinking the fact that the last time we played Clemson,
it went well.
It went phenomenal.
Yeah.
And that year also went phenomenal.
What was it, 2 or 3 years ago?
3 years ago. They were the first game of the season for our first natty.
The second was Oregon.
Yes.
Who was last year? I'll look. I don't remember that at all. I feel like it was not a big team. Yeah, it was UT Martin.
Yeah, I was about to say, I didn't think it was a big team either.
That's such a weird switch up. Clemson, Oregon, UT Martin, and then back to Clemson.
That's what I'm saying.
And when this was set, Clemson was like a top team. Now it's
well, see, again, I'm like, if this year had been last year, I wouldn't be as nervous because if we be going up against, UT Martin first, and it would be like, oh, our guys are super banged up. It doesn't seem like it's going to be that big of a deal. That said, all of this is all with a grain of salt because literally last year, what happened? Again, we started off the season. It took us so long every single game to get going. Another thing, Kirby keeps saying over and over and over and over and over again that we are not ready. He's like, we're not in a spot where we need to be. We're not ready. We're not ready. And I'm like, yes, Kirby's doing his whole Kirbyism of downplaying everything so that we, in an effort to not just keep us on our toes, but to keep the guys locked in and not have them again be overconfident. But I particularly do not feel like I've ever kind of heard him say this like this.
Yeah.
He's just 2 years ago when he was saying it when we won the first natty and especially the year after we won the second one, I feel like he was saying it and I'm like, okay, yeah, whatever. But this time around, I actually genuinely feel like he believes it, and therefore I believe it, and it's scaring me.
I don't know. You're always anxious about this.
This is so true. But I'm just saying, last time we started the season with Clemson, it went great. So hopefully we can just keep that ball rolling.
Yeah, it went well. I mean, I just checked the score. It was 10-3, but this was not was it Malachi Stark's interception game, or was that Oregon?
That was Oregon.
Oregon.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'll be interesting.
Malachi Starks wasn't on the team yet.
Yeah.
That year.
Yeah, because he was freshman, comes in, gets the pick.
Yeah, and it was like, oh my
Kid
God.
was a hawk.
Yeah.
Back in our first season? Second season? First season?
Second season.
No, we didn't do it the first year we won the Natty, right?
No.
Yeah, so second season. First
I
season.
thought you meant...
For Natty. No,
Yeah,
I meant for us. Yeah, but then it's Tennessee Tech and then Kentucky. And we're away for a little bit, 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Which that's going to be the killer for us this year's away games. It's Kentucky away, Bama away, Texas away, Ole Miss away. Tennessee's home, thank God. Florida's where Florida is.
Florida's where Florida is.
Yeah.
Bama and Texas. Oh my God.
I'm going to go to the Texas game. I'm excited for that.
I am trying to figure out what the plan is, and maybe I'll be able to go as well. But if I can't go, I'll live. But it definitely is something that I would I would love to be able to say I went to that first Georgia-Texas matchup because I definitely feel like this has potential to turn into a really big new SEC rivalry. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, who would you say, looking at the teams, not the histories,
okay,
you are most nervous about? If you had to pick between Alabama and Texas.
Texas. I'm not as nervous for Alabama as I was a few years ago, or even last year. They still have Jalen Milroe.
Yes.
The smile of college football. And he's still a phenomenal player. But Washington's coach to replace Saban, I don't think he's the level of excellence that Saban was. I mean,
of course not.
I think he's obviously good, and I'll go back and forth with people on Washington. Should they be pushing as far into the playoffs as they did type beat? But it's how much of it was capturing lightning in a bottle with that team and coaching just being really good?
Well, I mean, I agree with that, but at the same time, no one, first of all, is expecting him to come in and be Nick Saban. Second of all, I don't particularly know that a lot of people left Alabama when Saban did. And so, I don't care who's coaching them. Saban could have literally had a game where he didn't say a word. And therefore,
I don't think...
I just feel like the players, the talent on the team is what I'm most nervous about, not even necessarily coaching. Obviously, coaching is a huge factor. And a Nick Saban-less Alabama, we haven't seen in our lifetime, it feels like.
So, Alabama lost 14 players. Or had 14 enter the portal. Okay. It's a pretty significant number. I'm not sure how many were starters.
Really care
about. I don't know how many were starters or whatever.
That sounded harsh.
Any that would be playing against us.
Yeah.
But looking back at last year's Alabama team, I don't think we lose the SEC championship to any other coach than Nick Saban.
Any other coach?
Yeah, I think you.
So you think that you can give any other team Nick Saban and we still would lose if it was him coaching?
Well, I think if you give Alabama any other coach, we win. I think Nick Saban being the coach of that game had a lot to do with them staying in it and momentum momentum.
Yes,
Can you prove it or can you not? I think it had a lot to do with that team.
Yeah.
And him kind of like. Because he pushed that team hard that year. They were awful at the beginning of last season.
Yeah.
And they pulled it back at the end. But I don't think another coach does that.
Another thing, too, though, and this is obviously not to discredit Alabama at all. It's not to discredit Nick Saban at all or anybody at all. But I do have to say this one time. We hurt ourselves in that game. A lot more than I feel like we ever got the chance to talk about.
That was also a weird game.
Exactly,
yeah.
Because we didn't come back. So
There's
I
a
just
whole...
have to throw that out there. With the whole missing, when we missed the field goal, which hate to our kicker, obviously.
I was at that game. You were at that game sideline.
We fumbled the ball.
Worst officiated game I've ever seen.
Well, but also we just kept having uncharacteristic mistakes that were our own fault. Had nothing to do with Alabama. And it's like, if we had played against top 5 SEC team here that wasn't Alabama, and we had the same exact game that we had, we probably would have lost to them too. I'm just saying we picked the wrong day to have a bad game, and in my opinion, we had a bad game, and it makes Alabama look like they were so much better than they actually were. But again, not truly discrediting them because obviously they came in, they did what they had to do, they got the job done, they went to the playoffs and we didn't. So that is what it is. You have to own up to it or whatever. But yeah. I'm just saying that game specifically is just a hard thing to use as a judgment for us because we shot ourselves in the foot a good bit. Yeah,
it's like if we hit the field goal, different game.
If we don't fumble the ball on the 5-yard line, different game.
If the pass interference call that was blatantly missed by the refs gets called a different way. And it wasn't just Georgia stuff. It was stuff that we were doing that wasn't getting called or was getting called, or Alabama stuff that was getting called that just wasn't happening. Yeah. And it was always the wrong call. I don't know if the refs were investigated after that game. They should have been. I guess we would have paid more attention if we didn't fall off the face of the earth afterwards.
Yep, we were like, can't do this anymore. Bye.
We said, when we're done, we're done. When Georgia loses, we're out. And we didn't make the playoffs, and we were out.
Y'all thought we were playing?
Yeah.
And guess what?
And then Florida State game was a whole nother.
That also, that doesn't even matter either. I can't even with that.
The drama of last year that we left on.
But yes, new season, new reason to stress over Georgia football. But we'll see. I just really need to get this first game out of the way.
Yeah, I can tell.
So I can just be like, okay, are we going to be okay or are we going to be struggling? Are we on the struggle bus or are we on the way to success? I just need to know. Not that we can't be both. We could struggle a little bit in the beginning half. I'd rather not, but we could.
I don't know if Clemson... I'm curious to how well Clemson does in the new NIL world of college football because Dabo has not looked in the transfer portal at all. And that's been kind of a thing. And I'm curious if he'll eventually swap or he'll continue to be hard-headed and fall behind or get fired. If he consistently doesn't get players in the transfer portal and they just do worse and worse every year, they're not going to extend his contract and they're not going to deal with it. They're going to let him go when a better coach gets cut from a team.
We'll see.
We'll see. I feel like it would suck because he's iconic for being goofy. The video of him on the private jet saying, that's where you're going to play. Transfers a year later. Him running down the hill. Me just waiting to see for the day he falls, and that goes crazy on Twitter.
I definitely believe that we can't underestimate him. I definitely it's obviously his whole thing with the transfer portal. I feel like it's more not necessarily a show. That's not the right wording, but he's basically trying to be I believe I can do it with my guys that I have. I don't need to be pulling from the transfer. I feel like he's trying to prove a point.
But it's weird. You still recruit a new class like you feel like you can do it with the guys you have, but you still need to recruit more freshmen. It's like I don't
Well,
know.
yeah, but
It's a
like-
weird thought process. It's like it's getting a JUCO guy. It's the same as going out and getting a JUCO guy.
It's like different though, but yes.
They're different
Yes,
but the same.
But no. Yes. Anyways, we're obviously the favorite. Well, I don't know
Yeah.
if that's odd, but we're obviously the favorite.
I don't know. My thoughts on this game, the spread that I'm looking at by ESPN Bet is 13.5. And I think Clemson covers that. I think here's the thought in my head. We either win by 10 or we win by 45. There's no in between range of like I don't see us winning by 20 or 28. Like we are either going to stomp them into the dust or we're going to keep it so close that no Georgia fan wants to watch football ever again.
I think we. If I would think the opposite, like we beat the mess out of them so bad, it's like, I don't even care to watch this anymore.
Yeah.
But no, I think we're gonna win by 14 or 17 points.
14 or 17, that's your... I forgot we do score predictions.
Yeah, I know. But I haven't actually thought through like a score prediction that would give me that result, but I definitely think that we could beat them. Actually, no, 14 or 10.
And then the total is like...
We're either gonna beat them by 2 touchdowns or a touchdown and field goal.
The total on this game is 50, basically. I don't know. All right, so what's yours? Are you locking? What's the other one you're locking in?
I'm mathing over here,
I know.
trying to figure out what I'm gonna say because looking at this, obviously, is supposed to be a bit of a help as far as like figuring this out. Actually, no, I'm not doing that because I never do that. So I'm just gonna like make it up like I always do. So, score predictions. Oh my God, are you on the dock?
No.
Good, because you would have been making fun of how I spelled that.
Yeah, no, There's too much information on there for me. It distracts me. Actually.
Okay. Let's see here. What is my score prediction going to be?
I think I have mine.
Wait, are you writing it down?
I guess I should. No,
Don't
no.
go to the doc yet, though.
No.
I don't want you to see what I have.
Only
'Cause I want
a
to see if we put the same thing, because it'd be funny. This is kind of high. I feel like that's a bit high. No.
We hurry up so we can say it. I think I've got mine locked in.
Ooh, that's too close, though.
Starts looking weird when you start thinking about the actual score, doesn't it? Your idea of spread.
The math.
Yeah.
Okay, actually, I'm going back to what I originally had. Okay, what do you have as our score on 3? 1, 2, 3.
27. I was at 31 for a second. I came back down.
Okay. And their score, 1, 2, 3.
17.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so you have in B has 27 to 17, and I have
That's
31 to
fair.
17.
That's fair. I was at 31 for a while. I think it's more likely that we have some slow starts and get 2 field goals than have 1.
We'll see.
I think if we're wrong, it's because we score another touchdown, but I'm not sure we're going to cover the spread.
Okay, so that was a very impromptu, all over the place, random.
But we're back.
Pilot episode.
Yeah, pilot episode for season 3.
Or rather,
Are we going to
season opener.
Spotify? Are we going on to more platforms?
The goal is to be on Spotify. The goal is to be on quote unquote everything. So Spotify, Apple Podcasts like always. And then also to have obviously a video format that is on
YouTube.
the tube.
Possibly Reels. Maybe even
yeah,
the
some
TikTok
Reels
if I
and
feel
stuff like
comfortable
that.
doing that.
Yeah. So just like stuff going out all over the place. So just keep an eye out for the pod, Dooley's Dog Pod, if you will.
I usually have something to say there, and I just didn't today.
Yeah. So I mean, clearly we're still getting going.
Ramping up.
Trying to get out of
It's late in the day. It's 4:30 on a Friday.
4:30 on a Friday.
Let us live.
95
Anyway,
degrees.
that was podcast. Hope you enjoyed. We're back.
Yeah, we're back. And
We'll get
have
better.
Video format.
That
Don't
was-
we love?
That was very season 1-esque in terms of our ramble and crazy form.
Yeah, but I mean, like again, as we already said, like we're
We're getting better.
gonna
Excuses.
ease into it.
Yeah.
One thing to note. I forgot my one thing to note. Oh, we're going to. I don't know if you could tell. Well, if you've listened before, you probably do know that like we have to like edit a bit more intensely sometimes, try to cut out random stuff. And at least in this first episode, I feel like we did a good job of being
On it.
yes, so we can just use the full audio, not have to try to cut anything out. We will obviously have moments.
I think we more so have to now that we're doing video. It's just easier to just in point out point send it. So
Yeah,
it's
but
good. We're
like,
conditioned a little bit. We've been doing it for a few years. So
Yeah, well, you're the one how I'm most concerned with.
What?
That said, like, because I'm like, again, what if you have another CBS rant? We can't put the whole CBS rant in this video. We can't. Anyways, this has been Dooley's Dog Pod. I'm Donnie Trailer.
And I'm No Bice.
And we can see y'all.
You can see us.
This is crazy. And we'll be back, not next week. Or no, yes, next week, because this is going out next week. So, anywho, ignore that.
Yeah.
We will be back next week after the Clemson game. And we'll be talking about all things happening in Clemson and then all the things that are going to happen in whoever we play next, because I can't remember.
Middle Tennessee, something.
Whoever. Somebody from Tennessee.
Lovely FCS school.
Yes.
So.
Peace out.
See you guys.